Welcome back, my Grecaboos. Last time we left off, the rightful king of the gods, Zeus, won the Gigantomachy against a retarded incel that was Cronus, and their deceitful general Atlas, beginning a new era of peace and prosperity in the kingdom of the gods. Now, let's continue. We start off with Zeus, with himself no longer needing Metis, instead marries his sister Hera, and no, this one isn't incestuous, so shut your mouth before you open it. Together, the power couple rule over the kingdom of the gods, copying Gaia's technique of immaculate conception, as well as having children of their own. And Gaia, as always, is positively seething at the fact that her monopoly on reproduction is being threatened by the Gigagods, and so, to once again secure her own rule over the universe, as if the Mother Earth could ever run anything, she brought onto the universe the Gigantes. But she must have botched the birthing procedure, because what came out was just your average Discord moderators, with snakes for hair, a fitting metaphor for the moderator's true nature. And like Discord moderators, the giants could also create blood-curdling screams, had breath so terrible it was like being set ablaze, and even dressed with dragon tails like the furries they were. Suffice to say, Zeus and the Olympians didn't take kindly to this crime against themselves, and sought to destroy the giants, but because the giants were so fucking big, it took ages to just bring one down. Years pass, and finally, the last of the giants was slain, having been put out of their misery by the Olympians, and to appease Gaia, Zeus let out Prometheus, one of the titans captured during the Gigantomachy, and gave him a basic task of creating the life that would inhabit the earth, to keep an eye on Gaia and kill any monster she tries to shit out so that Zeus doesn't have to. Despite this basic task, Prometheus didn't know jack shit about making creatures, and so just mixed mud and water like the man-child he was. It was only when the goddess of wisdom, Athena, breathed on his crappy amalgamation that humans were born, made in the image of the Olympians, and thus being far more intelligent than any titan or giant. To separate them from animals, humans were given the ability to walk on two legs, and given the divine task to rule over the other animals, and represent the gods on Earth, as earlier stated. After teaching the first humans the basic ropes of civilization, they were let out into the wild, and Zeus gave fire to humanity himself so that they can sacrifice their shekels to the gods. And then Prometheus, seeking to ruin Athena and Zeus's work, tricks the humans into making their good sacrifices look like bad, and their bad sacrifices look like good. Of course, Zeus already knew about Prometheus' shitty plan, but went along with it for the banter anyway, eventually just deciding to cool fire a failed experiment and taking it back, if only to stop Prometheus from interfering with human sacrifices. But who said titans need fire to cause trouble? Oh no, not Prometheus. Instead, he snuck into the forge of Hephaestus while he wasn't looking, and stole fire to give it back to humanity. Eventually, Zeus looked down from the heavens to check on Earth, after another session of divine parties, orgies, and drinks, and sees fire everywhere. This enraged Zeus, who punished Prometheus by chaining him into the worst place possible. Chechnya, with adamantine steel no less, which was so strong that not even Zeus could break it, and every time Zeus needed extra livers, he would send an eagle to take Prometheus's, which regrew every day. But the worst punishment came to humanity. For the crime of taking and using fire from Prometheus, women were created, designed by hand to constantly annoy and torment the men, this woman being Pandora. Among Pandora's many weapons for the eternal torture of men was a jar, which even the gods considered overkill, so ordered her to never open the jar ever. But, being a woman, she did it anyway, and unleashed all the evils onto the worlds that we know today. Wrath, greed, sloth, communism, the works. Pandora closed the jar before the one good thing in there could get out, that being hope. That being the last thing her torture victims should get in her eyes. Disgusted by the dilution of mankind's genes, and its descent into degeneracy, the gods decided to try again, flooding the worlds with blood, killing all people except Deucalion and Pyrrha, the most pious, virtuous, and pure-blooded of all the humans, who built an ark with Zeus's advice, a story so famous that the Jews, Christians, and Muslims would all copy it for their own aims. After 9 days, Deucalion and Pyrrha made landfall once the storm subsided, and made a sacrifice to Zeus in gratitude for purging the world of all the other shitties that inhabited it. Zeus then told them, and thus they did, to throw their mother's bones over their shoulder, and then fuck like they've never fucked before. What the connection here is unknown, but by the time Zeus had time to think about it, the world was repopulated. Among Deucalion and Pyrrha's children was Helen, the progenitor of the Hellenic race. We're almost there. Helen himself had many children and grandchildren, who would later form the main tribes of Hellas, but that, my friends, is a story for another time. Next time, we will cover the earliest history of Greece that us mere mortals call real, that being the early Bronze Age and the arrival of Helen's children in Greece to claim their birthrights for all history. This will come next week. Until then, goodbye.